Neal Battaglia, saxstation.com. I got a question the other day about playing the high notes on soprano. And it was from Alan. He said he was having trouble getting the high notes, i.e. in the upper part of the second octave and into the third octave. He told me he'd been playing for 4 weeks, and he does practice every day, so 7 days a week. And so I asked him, do you not know where to put your fingers, or are you just having trouble getting the notes? So he told me that he knows where to put his fingers. He's got a fingering chart. If you don't have a fingering chart, you can go to saxstation.com/downloads, and you can get one that you could print out. It's on a single page. So he says, I know where to put my fingers to play the notes. I have used your fingering video in several fingering charts and tutor books, but I can't achieve the embouchure to sound the notes. I usually manage A and B in the upper octave, but C comes out squeaky, if at all, and I cannot get D, E, and F. He said he can get A and B. C is a little bit difficult, so. And then he said he can't really get D, E, or F, so. I actually played D, E flat, E, F. On soprano sax, for me, it's not too hard to play the low notes, even when I first got it. So like the low C, the low B, the low B flat. But actually, the highest notes, those with the palm keys that he was talking about, those were kind of challenging for me as well. They're in kind of a different range compared to the other saxophones. So in terms of what you play normally, you can get up there with altissimo. But the D, E, and F that he's talking about, those were challenging for me at first too. It took me a little bit of work to get there. What you kind of can do is, like, if you have the notes right below it, you can slur up to them. So from like B to C. By going from the note right next to it that feels more comfortable, you can kind of get into the note that's more of a challenge for you. So I'd say, basically, he's been playing 4 weeks. You want to keep practicing. You're not going to get every note of the saxophone on day one. You're probably not going to get it even in a month. You might if you spend a lot of time on it, but it's probably not typical to get every note within a month. So you kind of just keep expanding your range. You do what you can. You kind of go from there to the next note. And eventually when you get like up to high F sharp with the palm keys, you can start getting into altissimo, and you kind of work on it the same way. You spend time on it. You hold the notes when you get them, and you'll expand your range on the saxophone. So if you can play A and B, go from B to C. Go from C to C sharp. Go from C sharp to D. Maybe try starting at C. Try starting at C sharp. Try going between those notes. Then go up from C sharp to D, moving one finger. Try going back and forth between them, up and down. And then kind of just use the fingers, don't make any sudden movements. Don't kind of move your body when you play. Don't try to adjust more than you have to. It should just be a very small movement, because these notes, they're not far apart from each other. So try not to think it's a big deal. Try just make nice, easy movements with your fingers. Try and go from what you know, kind of get out of where it's comfortable, get where it's a little bit less comfortable, but it's going to become better the more you practice it. And just keep working on it. 4 weeks is not a lot of time. I imagine probably even within a few weeks, you can start getting these notes that you couldn't really play before. And you can also check out my fingering chart video. I play all these notes, so you can listen to them, kind of get the sound of them and hear them. So I told him, keep practicing every day. Play the notes below them, transition to the notes that are harder for you. I said it can take some time to get the full range of the saxophone. I said he'd only played 4 weeks, but you should get them before too long with consistent practice, and also focus on these notes in particular. And he says, I eventually got the low notes by approaching from above, so let's hope a similar method will work upwards too. And I think that's correct. Like going from like E to D to C, you're probably more comfortable with more the mid-range of the saxophone, and working downward is the approach for the low notes. Working upward is what you do with the high notes, because you can probably play the notes below them with more comfort. So yeah, try that out. Realize it does take some time, but also just work on it. You should get it. You just need to spend a little more time on it. You got notes that you couldn't play before with the lower notes. You should be able to do basically the same thing with the higher notes. I also have an announcement. I'm starting to make an intermediate saxophone class. I do have a beginning saxophone class, so if you're just starting off, that can be good within the first month or two, probably maybe up to 3 months or so. You learn some notes, you learn some songs, you learn a few scales, you learn kind of how to get a foundation to the saxophone. It's called Saxophone Foundations. And I'm also starting to make an intermediate class, so kind of a follow up to that class, going a little bit beyond what you can do in the very beginning, so more of an intermediate level. So leave a comment, let me know if you want to check that out, if you're interested in getting it, and you can get on my email list and get information when it's released.